Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to dig into something pretty interesting today. It's all about a modern gold mine right here in California, the Mount Vernon mine.
Yeah,
They just got a really important approval that's got everyone talking.
they really have. And you're right, it is interesting. This isn't just some lucky strike, you know? This is about serious regulations and safety protocols. The Mount Vernon mine just got the go-ahead for full-scale production.
And not from just anyone, right?
Right. From MSHA. That's the Mine Safety and Health Administration, so they don't mess around.
Okay, so we're not talking about some weekend hobbyists here. MSHA approval, that's got to mean some really strict standards that they met. So what does this actually mean practically?
Well, it means they've been through the ringer, inspections, demonstrating safety for their workers, the whole 9 yards. And of course, proving they're following all the environmental rules.
So this approval is like the key to the whole operation.
It really is. It is a big deal.
And what a mine it is. From what I've seen, this isn't your typical, open pit mine. This is an underground mine.
Yeah, a lot more Indiana Jones.
Way more exciting.
Definitely has a different feel to it. Underground mines are a whole other world. They've got their own challenges and their own opportunities. Totally different from the open pit ones. Different equipment, different expertise. Got to really know your geology.
And speaking of geology, this Mount Vernon mine,
Mm-hmm.
it's in a pretty legendary location, right? Like right in the thick of gold country.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about a spot with a history as rich as the gold they're pulling out of the ground. You know, the Ruby Mine?
Yeah.
Famous for some of the richest gold veins in North America.
Wow.
Well, Mount Vernon, same geological formation. So yeah, it's promising.
Really promising. And these reports, they keep saying largely undeveloped. And to me, that just screams potential.
Oh, it does. Big time. It means there's probably a lot of gold down there just waiting. Of course, there are always risks. We can't forget that. Going underground always has unknowns. But hey, that's part of the excitement, right?
Oh, yeah, massive potential. You mentioned those reports, right, saying largely undeveloped. That's not just, business talk. It means there's tons of gold down there, probably untouched for, who knows, decades, maybe even centuries.
Like a hidden treasure chest just waiting. But how do they even know where to look? It's not like it's just lying around on the surface.
That's where the geology gets really cool. They don't just go in blind. It's all about the data. Historical data, geological surveys, core samples, all pointing them in the right direction.
So they're basically like detectives using clues to find this gold.
Exactly. And the clues, they can be anything, really. Old mining maps, rock formations, even ground-penetrating radar. They use it all to see what's underground.
It's like a puzzle, but with, real gold at the end.
And a big payoff if they get it right.
Yeah.
And those high gold concentrations, that's a good sign. Speaking of which, let's talk about those assay reports. Those numbers, ounces per ton, sample IDs, it's like a whole other language.
Yeah, it's like a map to the treasure, those reports.
Yeah.
Each sample, it's from a specific spot in the mine, tells you how much gold is there.
So each sample ID, it's like a coordinate, a gold coordinate. That's really something. But ounces per ton, I got to be honest, I'm a little lost. What's considered a good concentration? Like, what are we hoping to see?
Good question. In a lot of gold mines, even a tiny bit of gold per ton of rock, that can be worth it.
Really?
But at Mount Vernon, we're talking about some samples with over 1 ounce of gold per ton.
Wow. That's a lot, right?
Yeah, that's huge. That's not common at all. You're talking about a ton of rock, and in that, more than an ounce of pure gold. That's why everyone's so excited about this mine.
I see why. This is getting really interesting. But, okay, say they get the gold out. That's only half the battle. You can't just, walk into a store with a rock and say, hey, this has gold in it.
Exactly. It's not that easy. This is where the whole mining process gets really impressive. Extracting that gold, that's a whole other ballgame. Crushing, grinding, separating, refining. And the mill, that's where it all happens.
Right, the Bishop Gold Mill. They'll be using gravity separation and maybe even flotation. Sounds pretty high-tech to me.
Oh, it is. They want to get as much gold out of that rock as possible. And these methods, they work. Gravity separation is kind of what it sounds like. Use gravity to pull out the heavy gold from the lighter rock.
Like a giant gold pan.
Kind of, but instead of a pan, you've got these massive machines, jaw crushers, ball mills, gravity tables. They crush the ore, and then gravity does its thing.
And what about flotation? What is that?
So that's where it gets really cool. It's all about chemistry. They grind the ore super fine, like powder, mix it with water, and then add these special chemicals. These chemicals, they attach to the gold and make it repel water.
The gold's like, get me away from the water.
Right. And they pump in air, create bubbles. The gold grabs onto the bubbles and floats to the top, and they just skim it off. It's really good at catching those tiny, tiny pieces of gold that gravity might miss.
Wow, that's amazing. So much goes into it. Who would have thought?
It's pretty remarkable what they can do, but it's not over yet. Even after they get the gold separated, they got to refine it, get all the impurities out, and make those shiny gold bars we always see.
Ah, the furnace. They've got one right there, don't they? Doré bars and platinum buttons. It's like something out of a movie.
It's quite a sight. They melt everything down in the furnace, super high heat, over 2,000 degrees. Gold is so dense it sinks right to the bottom.
Like a pool of molten gold.
Exactly. Then they pour it into molds and bam, gold bars. Platinum too, but they make smaller bars, platinum buttons.
This is incredible. But we should probably talk about the environmental side of things. What are they doing to minimize the impact?
You're absolutely right. It's a big concern. But Northway Resources, they've brought in environmental consultants, new fields. They're all about doing things right, following the rules, minimizing their footprint.
That's good to hear. It's not just about getting the gold, it's about doing it the right way.
For sure. Things are changing, and mining needs to change with it. It's
Yeah.
about the gold, yes, but also the environment, the people, the whole picture.
This whole thing, it's really fascinating. Like this at Vernon Mine, it's like a symbol of this new kind of mining. Using technology, but also being responsible.
You got it. It's a whole new chapter for the mining industry.
Mm.
But this is really just the beginning for Mount Vernon. The MSHA approval, that's huge, but now the real work begins.
They've just scratched the surface. Yeah. Literally.
It's true. Who knows what they'll find as they dig deeper?
And the challenges they'll face.
That's part of it all, right? The unknowns, the possibilities.
Speaking of which, who are these people making this happen? Who's behind this whole operation? It really makes you think the amount of knowledge and skill that goes into something like this.
Oh, absolutely. You can't do this alone. You've got your geologist figuring out the lay of the land, so to speak. Mining engineers, they're the ones planning how to actually get the gold out. Metallurgists, they're the ones figuring out how to process it all. It's really a team effort, a whole orchestra of different experts.
And don't forget those environmental consultants, making sure they're keeping things in check.
Right. They're crucial. And it's not just about, checking boxes and following the bare minimum. These days, it's about understanding how everything's connected. The mine, the environment, the community, finding that balance.
Like progress, but not at any cost.
Right, exactly. It's about the long game.
Yeah.
So yeah, the science is crucial, but so is doing things ethically.
So for our listeners, the ones now hooked on gold mining, what's the most important thing to keep in mind? What should they be watching for as this mine gets going?
Well, of course, keep an eye on how much gold they're producing. Those numbers tell a big part of the story. But honestly, watch what kind of technology they're using, all of that.
Because it's not just about the gold at the end of the day. It's about how they get there.
100%. This Mount Vernon mine, it's like a case study. Shows us how mining can evolve, how it can use technology and still be responsible. Really interesting to see how it all plays out.
I agree. It's been a fascinating deep dive, that's for sure. I feel like I learned a lot today. Amazing what's hidden right under our feet.
Right. You never know what you'll find when you start digging.
That's the truth. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but we'll be back soon with another deep dive into something new and interesting. So until then, keep exploring. And remember, sometimes the most exciting discoveries are closer than we think.
Exactly. Never stop being curious. Never stop asking questions. That's what it's all about.
Couldn't agree more. See you all next time.